Hello there. It's just like the perennial phrase from South Park. They've killed Kenny. But this time it's, they've arrested Tommy. It's become a regular feature of our political landscape, the arresting of a certain Mr. Robinson. But some would say that he sometimes brings it on himself. He was attending the March Against Anti-Semitism in London earlier today, but was very swiftly located and approached by Met police officers in a cafe who asked him to leave the area, on the basis that it could cause harassment, alarm and distress to others if he stayed. He afterwards ended up arguing with the police on the street, and when he refused to leave, he claims he was subjected to a CS gas spray directly in the face from an officer of the law. Tommy put out on X a video of himself later, so I assume he was let free while he still looked to be somewhat semi-blinded, but I could be wrong about that. That puts out a message though, doesn't it? And look at how many of them it took to remove him from the scene. Talk about mob-handed. It looks like there were more police officers there than around the cenotaph on the morning of Armistice Day. Now, when the police earlier talked to Tommy in the cafe, Robinson told them he was waiting with 2 colleagues for a breakfast that he had already paid for. And he also explained that the 3 of them were there as paid journalists, and that he had not come mob-handed, and pointed out that the Met itself had put out a statement yesterday saying, "The right of the press to freely report on protests is no less important than the right to protest itself. They should be able to do so without facing intimidation or aggression." Something they appear to have done in response to intimidation and verbal abuse directed at GB News presenter Catherine Forster and her crew by some on Saturday's pro-Palestine march. And I have to ask, where were the police? Were they on hand by the dozen to stop that intimidation and verbal abuse? Were they ready with the CS gas? However, the police were not swayed by Robinson's arguments and decided he would be leaving the area, whatever it took. And Twitter is now full of examples of where the police stood by and allowed hate preachers to spew their filth, and where a lone guy with a machete was chasing a dozen police officers around a car and they did nothing to try and deal with him. Now, the Met Police do say that the organisers have been clear about their concerns that the man's attendance and that of those who were likely to accompany him would cause fear for other participants. The same view has been voiced by others. But Robinson appears to have been there as a journalist with 2 crew members. And why wait until he arrived there? Why not serve him with a notice days before if they were all so worried about his presence? In fact, some of you might recall the royal wedding back in 2011. The Met was so worried about anarchists spoiling the day that they conducted preemptive raids on squats and homes to round up and arrest anyone they thought could ruin the pageantry of the day. Protest would not be allowed, all to ensure Charles and Camilla got their perfect day. Not even the self-confessed anarchist Charlie Veitch of the Love Police would be allowed to use a megaphone to make ironic comments in Soho Square. So he was arrested in Cambridge the day before and then collected by the Met. The charge? Conspiracy to cause a public nuisance. So if they could do that in 2011, why can't they send Tommy a letter to say he's not welcome in 2023? But it all happened on the day in full view of the world. All seems so strange to me, almost like someone somewhere wants to stoke something up. Well, if they do, judging by the reaction on social media, they are going about it in exactly the right way. And I don't think our politicians and police realise that by appeasing on one side and cracking down hard on the other, using the excuse of keeping the peace, can only end up with the side they continually appease taking control, or with the side they continually attack taking matters into their own hands. And this is not helped when considering our establishment's policy where our borders are concerned. And that has upset quite a few Tory ministers and MPs, if the claims by Reform UK leader Richard Tice are borne out. He claims that there are quite a few of them who are so incensed at Rishi's unwillingness to deal with the immigration problem that they are now in talks with his party with a view to jumping ship. Now that would give Reform UK the kickstart Tice needs. Except some voters would be disappointed that he's just gone for the same old establishment politicians. Anyway, Tice was forced to bat off the claim that his party had approached former Labour, now Tory MP Lee Anderson, and offered him some serious wedge to come across. And this came from a recorded conversation where Anderson said, "Now there is a political party that begins with an R that offered me a lot of money to join them. I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money." Now I will remind people that there is another party out there that begins with the letter R, and that is Reclaim UK, Lawrence Fox's outfit. Now I'm not saying that it was Fox's party, just that Reform is not the only party starting with the letter R. But the story has developed further, with Lee Anderson saying that Tice should keep tighter control of his team, saying that he wished Tice would talk to him direct to get the real story. And interestingly, Anderson said, "From time to time, politicians do meet other politicians from different political parties. At one such meeting, I was offered the chance to join another party for the following deal. I join within a few months and stand for this party at the next election. If I lost my seat, I would be guaranteed a job with the party for 5 years on the same salary as an MP." So he doesn't seem to be claiming it was Reform, just a meeting with a politician from another political party. Richard.
I have a quick something to say at the end about the arrest of Tommy, okay? So, anyway, let's carry on. Well, it looks like there could be some defections from the Tory party. Yes, and they seem to be heading over to Reform, which will, of course, bolster the Reform party and make it far more viable in the general election next year. But I can foresee a slight problem here. What if the wrong types of Tories migrate across? And you know the ones I mean. Persons who are too affiliated with the, let's say, negative aspects of the Tory party, such as its complete, total and utter failure to govern and deliver on its promises. If I was one of these shadowy and powerful figures in the Tory party that Nadine Dorries has been mentioning, and I wanted to sabotage Reform in the next general election, I would be sending over Matt Hancock and Jeremy Hunt straight over to Reform. Quick defections, off you go. Yeah, that's what I would do. I mean, let's face it, if those Muppets joined the Tory party, it would be game over for Richard Tice and Reform, because nobody would vote for Reform. None of its voter base would. If Tice or Lawrence Fox wish to poach a few, MPs from Sunak, then they're going to have to be very selective about it. We have all heard the same old vote Reform and you'll get Keir Starmer. And I'm sorry, but the Conservatives and Labour have become indistinguishable from one another. And it makes no difference. And it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Starmer will get in, regardless of if Reform even existed. At least if you vote for Reform, you vote for what you believe in. But if Reform gets its act together, and I mean really gets its act together, leading up to the general election, I think it's the only thing that can stop Keir Starmer getting into 10 Downing Street. So the chant should be, vote Sunak, get Starmer. Vote Sunak, get Starmer. I might write a little song about that. Okay, and as for Tommy getting arrested, well, what can I say? It must be very confusing for the police, because here is a man wanting to stand by the Jewish community, yet he is branded far right, so Mr. Plod will be in total cognitive dissonance that someone who is branded far right could support the Jews. So they arrest him, out of their, well, either cowardice or cerebral inadequacy. Possibly both. Anyway, or maybe neither, of course. But this is the same brave Plod that allows anti-Semitism to be screamed on the streets of this country with banners flying, saying the most horrific things. If you'd have said about any other section of society, you would be arrested immediately. But it's okay to say it about the Jews. Oh, okay. Yes, but the police, they won't tackle the demographic doing this. Oh, no. Oh, that could be dangerous. And as for Boris Johnson and his family joining in with the march against anti-Semitism, well, I hate it when Boris does something I agree with, because this is the man who mandated poison and destroyed the economy by locking us all in our homes and did a few other things that I find utterly reprehensible. But there we go. Even a stopped clock is right twice a day. So let Jeff and I know your thoughts on this in the comment section below, and bye for now.